I really was searching for what to do because I love the Lord. I want a relationship with the Lord. I believe in, heaven and hell. So of course I want that, and I want people that I'm close to have that relationship and the grace and all the things that I've experienced. I want that for them. So
Hmm.
then what do you do to get them to see that or to come back? That's the frustrating part. And that was what I had to learn over the time of my life here.
Are you walking through a storm that feels like it will never end? Do you wonder if life's storms have stolen the beauty from your life for good? You're in the right place. My name is Heather, and like you, I've been through a storm or two and wondered if life would ever be beautiful again. Here we share warriors' words, stories of discovering beauty after battles, and the worth in your wounds. Pick up your sword or boxing gloves and join the battle. Your words are powerful, my friends. Make them warrior words. Welcome, warriors. Kristine Bruce is the founder of Praying for Our Prodigals. It's a Catholic apostolate dedicated to supporting families who carry the quiet pain of loving someone who has walked away from the faith. Through her own journey, she discovered that while we cannot change hearts, we can participate in God's work through prayer, sacrifice, and trust. Today, Kristine helps parents move from anxiety and striving into a place of peace and purpose, reminding them that no soul is ever too far from God's mercy. Through weekly reflections, rosary resources, and a growing community, she walks alongside those caring hidden wounds, offering hope, practical guidance, and the reassurance that God is always at work, even when it cannot be seen. Her mission is simple: to help others turn pain into purpose through prayer and to walk with them in hope until their loved ones come home. Now, before we hear Kristine's story, I'd like to remind you about Catholic Owned. Their app is the perfect free resource to shop with your favorite businesses, find new ones, and in general, to support Catholic owned businesses. And if you have your own Catholic business, their directory and speed networking may just be for you. So download the app in the store of your choice and then visit CatholicOwned.com to join their network. If you enter the code WARRIOR at checkout, you will get 10% off your order. And as an affiliate, I will receive a small commission for that purchase. Now grab a tissue and join Kristine and me as she shares what happened with the prodigals in her family and how you can help those in yours. Let's rock. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Warrior Words podcast. I am thrilled to welcome Kristine Bruce. How are you doing today, Kristine?
I'm doing really good. Thank you.
I am so glad to finally have you on the show. You and I met probably a year and a half ago now, I think, through Emanuela Hall's Captivating Speakers Academy. And it was so good to get to know you and hear your story a little bit more. And so everybody heard, either they read the title or they heard your bio already, so they know we're going to be talking about prodigals today. Can you start out by just telling us, what is a prodigal?
Well, I'm sure your listeners know the story of the prodigal son, right? Where the one takes all his inheritance and leaves for a bit and then thankfully does come back. So, I guess that's what I think of. I'm thinking of the person mostly at this point who is away from the church, somebody who either is kind of checked out a little bit, just like emotionally, like maybe just going through the motions because their parents, require it of them,
Yeah.
or even some, just going to mass every Sunday and not really thinking that much about it, all the way to somebody who is, atheist, doesn't believe God exists, hates the church for one reason or another, won't talk about it. So I think there's a spectrum of people
Hmm.
who have fallen away from the church for one reason or another. And so it's really all of them. And we're just really praying for their return, of course, and hopefully in due time that will come.
Yeah. Well, I've referred to myself as a prodigal daughter on many occasions, but I was kind of like just that person who would go sit in the pew of the church, tick the box or check, do the time card, punch the time card. I wasn't really into it, I guess. And I think I was one of those legalistic kind of people who, oh, my parents taught me I have to go to mass every Sunday, so that's what I did. There just
Yeah.
wasn't any heart or any feeling behind it.
Yeah. Sometimes I think it's hard for us to teach how to have that like personal relationship that, Protestants talk about. But it is true, right? We have to have some kind of relationship, and as well as I think an understanding of the Catholic Church is different, because then you do have some Catholics who leave the Catholic Church for maybe a different denomination of Christianity,
Hmm.
not understanding that we're the only church that has the real presence of Jesus at the Mass, as well as it's a sacrifice, it's the holy sacrifice of the Mass. So I think we lose people too because they don't even really know what they're leaving. And they may not be angry at the church, but they just are lukewarm or don't understand even what makes the Catholic Church different. So the prodigal is a pretty broad term, but we're praying for everybody, everybody to come back. So yes.
Yes.
But
Oh,
I'm glad you came back. Will you be able to share a little bit of what your story is that brought you, back or increased
oh,
your faith, I guess, really?
well, I think I kind of went went along like that for a good portion of my young adult life. And it wasn't until probably when I was teaching my children. So I homeschooled both of my kids. And I think it was one of those things that you can't teach what you don't know.
Hmm.
And the one tool I think that I credit with actually deepening my faith is Jeff Caven's Great Bible Timeline Adventure. I think
Oh,
that's what
right.
it
The
was, or
adventure
Great
Bible.
Adventure
Yeah,
Bible
great
Timeline.
adventure. Yeah, yeah.
It's Jeff
We did that
Caven's.
too. Yes, yes. So good. So good.
And that really, really solidified a lot of things for me at the time. And it just got richer and richer as I kept teaching my children. So that's that was a big one for me. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's really good. That kind of does lead into my story of kind of how what happened with me was, I had relatives, we'll use a generic term. We had relatives,
Mm-hmm.
my
Yeah.
husband and I, both raised Catholic. My husband and I never left the church, but we had relatives that, for one reason or another, turned their back, walked away. And I did go speak with a variety of different people who advised me that don't worry, they'll be back. I'm like, okay, well, when? And what do I
Right.
do in the meantime, and what is going to bring them back? And I think, you're one of the fortunate ones that maybe they were speaking of. That's like, oh, well, once they, have kids, they'll come back because they'll want them baptized and they'll want
Right.
them to make their first sacraments. And I think that did happen in previous generations, but the statistics were showing that was not happening. That's not happening in the younger generations. They're not coming back. And so that was really quite disheartening as I
Yeah.
would read articles or, look at things. And it's like, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if God's just calling me to sit back and watch.
Mm.
But he's maybe not calling me to nag them either, because I did try that also. I tried that with one particular person, and it didn't really work so well. What happened
Yeah.
was I worked for Lighthouse Catholic Media. I don't know if you remember the CDs in the back of
Yeah, I have a
church.
few.
Yeah, those things are classic. If you still have any of those, they're still very, very good, timeless information there. But so I would send him those and send him books, and because Lighthouse would get emails that people would listen to them and either convert to the faith or come back. And I think under the right set of circumstances, Catholic material does help people.
Right.
However, if it's unsolicited, I found that
Mm.
doesn't usually help. It seems like it has to be something they either find on their own or maybe a coworker, but definitely not a relative.
Right.
Her siblings know nothing. Anyway, so that really put a strain on me and my brother. And as I tried that method, so I really was searching for what to do because I love the Lord. I want a relationship with the Lord. I believe in, heaven and hell. So of course I want that, and I want people that I'm close to have that relationship and the grace and all the things that I've experienced. I want that for them. So
Hmm.
then what do you do to get them to see that or to come back? That's the frustrating part. And that was what I had to learn over the time of my life here. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, as you were speaking about the nagging, it just reminds me, I think just as maybe as women, maybe it's more of a woman thing or maybe more of a mom thing that we just, I don't know, I think we just have that comfort and nurture and care and we know what we're experiencing and we know what it's done for our lives. So of course we want that for everybody in our circle and everybody in the world ultimately, right? But we have to start with our own circle. Um, but yeah, I also agreed. I was kind of nodding in my head about how, yeah, maybe it comes from a coworker or something as opposed to a family member because I think maybe we're too close to the situation. And I know my kids don't like me nagging them about anything, but
Yeah, yeah, that does happen. And I think, well, even kind of like in the definition, we don't always know why a person has wandered away. Yet we just start, giving them these books or information. And it may not even be answering the question or solving the problem of the
Mm,
reason why they left.
that's a
And
great
so
point. Yeah.
if we are going to try to talk to somebody, not nag, but even if we are wanting to have the discussion, it should be a discussion and it should kind of start with prodding why they left or try not prodding, but just trying to encourage the person to talk. But you have to be very careful in the situation. Like I said, coworkers, friends can be easier, siblings, children, adult children, it can turn into a very emotional situation. My apostolate specifically actually I close to never talk to people. I never really encourage people to talk to people about the faith. That's just not where my apostolate which is it's not geared to that. There are books out there that can talk to you that discuss like evangelization and apologetics and what to say and what not to say. There are books out there that do that, but I really felt like my I was being called to more of a quiet, a quiet solution, like behind the scenes, like what can we be doing behind the scenes that can can allow God to do his work. And so I guess I'm kind of jumping ahead about the apostolate, but
Well,
um,
no, I mean,
but
my next question was going to be, um, you said you felt God was calling you to something that was not nagging. So how did you discern what God was calling you to do, this kind of behind the scenes
work, yeah.
thing?
So yeah, no, I was praying about it over, some time. I had left Lighthouse Catholic Media and kind of had a little void in my schedule and was just really kind of trying to discern where the Lord was calling me. And um, it was November 16th, 2018. And in the Magnificat, the little mass book, it
Hmm.
was a section from the diary of Saint Faustina, right? And so Jesus flat out, like he's just like talking to her and he just says, "My daughter, I am going to tell you how to rescue souls." And I was like, "Okay, what?" Like he's gonna flat out say it right here and now. And of course my like alertness really peaked up. And he said, "You will rescue more souls through prayer and suffering than will a missionary on words alone."
Wow.
Okay. And then there was more, and I just kept praying over that and praying over that and praying over that. And I'm like, okay, so in that time when I was, kind of passing out Lighthouse CDs to somebody in books who didn't want them, I was kind of being like a missionary on words alone, right? I'm like, here, read this book. Here, listen to this talk.
Yeah.
Even though I wasn't one speaking it, it was kind of like that. But it's like, he says prayer and suffering. So then I just really kept praying about that. And I was like, okay, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna, work behind the scenes and then I'm gonna let God do his work in his time, because you know what? The thing is, God knows why this person left. God knows what it's going to take to bring him back. And so I'm going to do my part because, and that's the thing, like, you know, I'm not rescuing souls. Like, I like to clarify that. But God does, in his generosity, ask us and invites us and wants us to participate in the rescuing of souls. So it's
Mhm.
not that I did it on my own, but I participated with God through prayer and sacrifice to help rescue souls.
I
Yeah.
think that's a beautiful distinction too, because we are not the ones doing it. We are joining and we are participating. And I think that's even more beautiful that we are given that opportunity.
Yeah, yeah, it's really great. And but there does come responsibility, right? Because then there are some, who maybe are a little even I don't know. It's like, okay, what is the line, right? It's like, okay, so like laissez-faire, I'm just gonna let God take care of it, but you have to do your part. You know what I mean? Like I
Right.
believe there is a part of trusting. We do have to trust that God's going to take care of it, but He does ask us to do our part. So we can't just sit back, and eat chocolate chip cookies all day while He's taking care of the work, right? Like
Oh,
it's a
darn.
combination. Yeah. Yeah. So then, like I said, so I prayed about that, and I kind of had this. I did go searching too to see. I was like, surely there's somebody out there already doing something like this, that where you
Mhm.
can encourage and support, and I did do quite a bit of looking and talking to different Catholics in the influencing space. Nobody found anything. There were a couple books that were written. They were more about the what to say kind of
Mhm.
books, or would maybe have like a chapter on praying and fasting, and definitely no support groups. So then I just prayed about it, and I had, a best friend, a priest, and a spiritual director. We kind of all, I consulted with each of them at different points, and I was like, okay, well, what do I have the capacity to do? I have my own family and husband, what do
Mhm.
I have the capacity to do? What do we think people could use that would help? And so what we settled on was I would lead a rosary, an online rosary, it's a phone call, on Wednesdays at 3 o'clock Central. So whoever is available on Wednesday can call in on Wednesdays, and we pray for everyone by name that's on the call, and then we pray for everyone in the apostolate. And then on Fridays, I email everybody who wants to be on my email list. I send them an email, and it's just, it's kind of I just try to be like a friend to them, right? And encouraging
Mhm.
them, walking this road with them, reminding them that they're not alone. So that might look like, well, okay, over the past 8 years of doing this, it kind of fell into four pillars of what I write about. And so we talk about those a lot. Trust that the Lord will take care of everything. Pray. Typically, I start, I encourage people with the rosary, of course. But then there's a chaplet. There's all kinds of prayer devotions we can do. Sacrifice. I encourage everyone to fast every Friday. And then, of course, there's always more sacrificing we can do. And then love. And love means love God as well as love your children where they are. And that might include some forgiveness. And, I'm not a social worker or, psychologist, but,
Right.
just encouraging people to love children where they are and encouraging them not to do any nagging. Not that that's a regular theme, but people know that is what I do recommend. But so
Yeah.
anyway, so then that's on Fridays, and then every now and then something might come up, or I have written some rosary meditations over the years, and those kind of resources, like some books that I think are very helpful. Those are all on my website, where people can at least like know, like, okay, here's some books she's read, that I haven't written any
Yeah.
books that might be helpful, or other podcasts that I'm on. So the website has some resources too that people might find helpful. So that's kind of what we landed on, and so far that's worked really well, and people seem to like it, and I get a lot of encouraging emails back. So
Well, I love the progression from, feeling frustrated with family members who have left to nagging to giving, you know, giving the word and giving things to teach them to your own prayer and then now to prayer with others and for others. And I think it's just a beautiful progression. I was going to just say start to finish, but it's not finished and it will probably never be finished this side of heaven. But is there any finish or completion in your life? Did you I do believe you said you had multiple prodigals or multiple people in your family who have left the church. Have any of them, do you have any success stories in that? Have any of them returned?
Yeah, I mean, we do actually. The one I was given the CDs to, he hasn't come back yet, but he did have his two children baptized in a Christian church, which we're super grateful for that. And then yeah, we do. My husband has, a sibling that has come back, and then some other, yeah, my daughter, that's the one that, of course, was probably the catalyst for the biggest catalyst because it was our own child. Like, how could you do this to us? But she and her husband are back, and their baby is baptized, and they're regular churchgoers. And it's just been such a gift to be able to now share that we can share the faith together. And some of the things she says to me are just so sweet and just so loving. And so yeah, so we have, and then of course I can't really even keep track of all the emails and texts that I get from people that are returning.
Wow.
Not that it's so many, maybe, but maybe I'm just an unorganized person. But yeah, like I mean, some people texted me over the weekend, the Easter, so and so's, coming back, and so and so's joining the church and the vigil, and so it is so great. And then we do have people. Not that I specialize in estrangement, but that is a real problem in our society too, is children just being estranged from their parents and,
Right. Yeah.
and not even talking to them at all. So not only are they away from the church, but then they're, won't even talk to their parents, which I just find so upsetting. And thanks be to God, just over the weekend, we had somebody that did finally, they had a 10-minute conversation.
Wow.
And so that kind of stuff is just such a gift. And I don't know too. I need to do a little more research, but I'm hearing things like that this Easter vigil, like they had 3 times more people coming to the church than last
Yeah.
year or something. I really need to get into the details. But yeah, like the spirit is moving. Like, and I don't think all it's just because of me and the apostolate, but it's God is letting us see his hand, like in action. Like he's doing things. The Holy Spirit is moving.
Mhm.
And thanks be to God, because we need it so bad. We need these people on our side, and working for Jesus instead of even being lukewarm, but definitely not working for Satan.
Right.
But yeah, so I don't know. Yes, we definitely have seen people coming back here within my own family as well as in the apostolate.
Yeah. That is, I mean, that is beautiful because I always like to look for, the beauty that comes from the suffering. And you mentioned Jesus' words to Saint Faustina about bringing people back and winning more through the suffering. And that's a beautiful example of bringing that beauty or finding that beauty through your own suffering and uniting your suffering to Jesus so that he can. Well, he doesn't need our suffering. He wants, he wants our participation. So, um, yeah, it's just, it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
No, yeah, thanks. And along
I
those
need more
lines,
synonyms.
it's fine. It's fine. Along the lines of suffering too, like I really encourage people to pray about what they can give up. I mean, fasting traditionally has always meant food, but I don't think depending on the kind of suffering, right? Because heck, they're saying to, like to try to offer that up. And I noticed like you have just such beautiful lipstick on, and see mine are completely plain because about 18 months ago, I think that's how long it was now. Maybe it's 2.5 years ago. I'm gonna have to look. But anyway, I gave up lip gloss because for a specific prodigal that I'm praying for. I'm seriously addicted. Like I've been addicted to like chapstick. Actually, it was Carmex back in high school, but I was just like seriously addicted, and I just decided, okay, this is it. This is my suffering, and all this time, I've never. It does not go away. My lips are dry 100% of the time, and it's just always, just a little thing. It's a little thing. That's the thing too. Like on the suffering of fasting, I'm like, do something that's a little bit challenging, but not impossible.
Right,
Like if you're
right.
gonna offer something up, make sure. I mean, I pray about it first. Ask your guardian angel what would be best for you and for the person you're praying for. Um, but make it doable. It's so hard. It's like I just can't. Okay, that's not the thing for you then.
Right,
You're
right. Because you
challenging,
have to
but
have, right, you have to have a certain level of challenge Otherwise, it's not the suffering aspect of it. But it can't be so hard that, 2 weeks in, you're like, oh, I can't do this. I quit. Because that
Exactly.
serves no one. That serves no one. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, it should be challenging, but not impossible. I like that. I like that. So,
Yeah. So
uh,
it's been a really great group, and I've learned so much and grown in my own faith so much over the years because I constantly trying to read and pick up pointers along the way because God does want us to know his will, and he's not a liar, right? Like he wants
mhm.
souls to be saved more than you and I do, more than anyone, more than his
Right.
parents. We want our children. Like he wants it more than we do. So he has revealed to us. Saint Faustina is not the only person that has, got the message. Like it's out there in a lot of different ways and places. And so I read a lot of books by the saints, and of course the Gospels too, um, and the whole Bible. But it's like I just try to keep a log of those kind of things that I can write about then throughout the year to just encourage people. It's like, okay, we know what we have to do. God says if we do this, He will answer our prayers. We're praying within His will. We just need to keep the fight, keep be the warriors, right?
Yeah.
Keep up the fight, keep working, keep doing it. Whether we see the progress or not, we just have to trust that he's going to take care of it. And that's kind of the message. That's just the message every single Friday. Like, keep going. You're doing great. Keep going.
And I love that. I love that you are encouraging others. And then you also said that you get these encouraging emails back. And that way, the grace just keeps flowing in both directions, cyclical, round and round. So I,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, I love that. And I love that you are working to bring more people back to the church and working with others to do so as well. So. So you
Yeah.
mentioned your website. What can people find on your website? And I know I've already said it, but please say it again. And um,
Yeah. No, that's good. It's currently not on any kind of social media, so I don't have Instagram or anything like that. I don't know if that's in the future. We'll see. But for now, the best place, the only place to find me is at the website, prayingforourprodigals.com. But like I said, yeah, there are some podcasts I've been on, articles that have been written about me there. So those, of course, are all free. They're right on the homepage. And then there's other resources page where there's like links to books that you can get. I have the Rosary Meditations that I wrote specifically for prodigals is on there. You can get that via PDF. Oh, and then the other thing is too, if you do sign up to be on the website, on the email list, I don't send lots of emails. I don't have time for that. But anyway, um, we do have 5 masses said per week for everyone in the apostolate for the return of their prodigals. That's a real gift just because different people know different priests. Okay, I'm so sorry. So we get 5 masses said for everyone. That's one thing. And then also, if you sign up at the website on the first email, there's a PDF that's free. 4 tips to bringing home your loved one without nagging. I know it's without nagging. It's 4 tips and it's without nagging. Um, so yeah, so you can get that for free. I don't think it's listed on the website though, but just sign up for the email list and then you can get it. But yeah, so that's where you find me. Prayingforourprodigals.com. Simple.
well, I'm going to be signing up because I do have some prodigals in my
Okay.
family that you've given me some ideas that I can work on because I remember going to confession one time and talking to the priest about a couple people in particular, and his suggestion to me was to pray for them, and it wasn't any more concrete than that. It was just to keep them in prayer, and I have been doing that, but I feel like after talking to you and listening and learning more about what you do that maybe there is a little bit more that I can do on my end to participate with God in bringing them back. So, um, yeah, I'm going to sign up myself, and I encourage everybody
Right.
listening to sign up.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sad that you have prodigals, but that's no surprise. We all do. So I'm
Yeah.
grateful, yeah, that you'll sign up, and I hope, that you'll find them helpful and encouraging as well.
Oh. Well, one last thing that I would like to ask you then is, do you have any warrior words for our audience? Maybe there's somebody, well, there's likely somebody listening who also has a prodigal or two in their family. What would you say to them?
Yeah, I mean, the thing. the most important thing, I guess, is that no one is far from God. He wants everyone to be saved, and he is working, even even when we cannot see them, right? He is still working behind the scenes. So maybe he's just waiting for your, prayers, your suffering to be able to open up that door a little bit more. But just really, yeah, participate with his grace, do your praying, doing your suffering, and then wait and just see the results because he will act. There's no doubt about that.
Yes, he does. He does. Sometimes it's harder when it's behind the scenes and we can't see what's happening because we're an impatient lot
Um,
of humans.
this just kind of came to me because I think it's a great example of how God works. So our daughter was engaged. They were both not practicing the faith. And we did ask a different priest what we should do. And he did say, pray 4 rosaries every day. I'm like, well, that's a pretty big ask. But we did it. We did do it. And after 9 months, they did decide to get married in the Catholic Church.
Wow.
And I asked, how did you, we never said a word to them about it. And I said, how did you come to that decision? And without our knowing, 3 different people had spoken to them about it and said, you should get married in the Catholic Church. There you go. Right? There you go. It's just
Wow.
like we had nothing to do with those people. We didn't tell them to do that. We didn't know they did that. And
Hmm.
God just took care of it. And he rewarded our consistently begging and pleading for their, marriage to be in the church. And it was. And
Wow.
so God is working, and sometimes a lot of times we don't see it, but then sometimes in hindsight we get to see it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
So
that's a beautiful story. Thank you. Thank you for sharing
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Hopefully it'll inspire someone to do more praying or more sacrifices. And yeah. Yep.
yeah. So, but I'm so grateful that we got to get together, Heather, and I really enjoyed our time together. So thank you so much for having me today. I really appreciate it and hope that your listeners were able to glean some little bit of hope out of this time together.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate you sharing your personal story and then your journey to this beautiful apostolate with praying for our prodigals.
You're welcome.
So thank you, Kristine.
You're welcome.
Do you have a prodigal in your life? Maybe more than one? I love what Kristine discovered in her own search to help the prodigals in her life. And then how that search led to a journey of how to partner with God to bring people back to the church without nagging. And I think that without nagging part is so important. Seriously, how many times has nagging ever truly worked in trying to accomplish what we want, right? But what I love even more was that Kristine didn't keep this knowledge to herself. She didn't use this information only to help her own family. She reached out to wise counsel, as we are directed in scripture, to determine or to discern what God may be calling her to do with this knowledge. And it started with a call to and with prayer. And then that call led to a full apostolate where Kristine shares prayer and encouragement, along with other resources to support people who are praying for their loved ones to return to church. And she does all of this through the lens of 4 pillars that she discovered in her own prayer. And those pillars are trust, prayer, sacrifice, and love. And these are things we all need to do. We need to trust and trust God to do what's best for our loved ones in His time. We need to pray and sacrifice, offering them up to God for our loved ones. And we need to love them because we don't stop loving people. I do want to remind everyone of what Kristine said about there being like a spectrum. I call myself a prodigal daughter, even though I never officially left the church. So if you have someone in your life like that who is just checking boxes, praying for our prodigals is still for you. So this week, I challenge you to think of the people in your life who may fall on this prodigal spectrum and to begin praying for them. Sign up for Kristine's email list and learn more about participating with God as He works to bring them back. And remember, we don't bring them back. God does. And He does so in His time, not ours. But be assured, God is working even when we can't see it. Your prayers and your sacrifices are never wasted. Until we meet again, armor up, fight the good fight, seek beauty, and make your words warrior words. God bless.